Hello, I'm the Angry Spork, taking issue with Tom King's Batman. Last time, our hero broke free of the nightmare machine he'd been trapped in, punched a few Arkham loonies, then Tim Drake, and confronted Bane in Wayne Manor, only to get his back broken again. His Flashpoint dad, Thomas, dragged him through the desert on a horse with no name, not because it felt good to get out of the rain, but to force his son to retire the cowl, and resurrect the Martha Wayne of this universe. Bruce caught on, though, buried his mom somewhere in the desert, and the two would-be bats took to fisticuffs in an underground cavern. Now we begin the final arc of this run with City of Bane.
It's times like these you learn to love again. It's times like these.
Issue 75's cover sees the Bruiser stomping toward a discarded mask among some rubble, while various villains look on. The only one I don't recognize is this lady. Either that's supposed to be a redesign of the New 52 villainess White Rabbit, or Holly Robinson cut her hair and got a job working at the American equivalent of a Bunny Girl cafe. We open to a police car racing down a raining Gotham street, when Central calls it a 3773. Incidentally, this is the same numerical palindrome seen in the War of Teehees and What-Thas. Not sure what significance it has, other than the two officers investigating the crime being Joker and the Riddler. These new Police Academy movies are taking risks, I'll give them that much. They found Dr. Simon X, aka Dr. Double X, and his duplicate, both dead, 2 bullets each, courtesy of Two-Face, and even the egomaniacal Eddie Nigma can't figure out why he did this. Nothing like the unceremonious death of a character. Comics, ladies and gentlemen! Incidentally, they managed to find Harv's coin, which is odd that he'd leave it at a crime scene, given that fixation being a central part of his character. Though in previous iterations, after losing it, he's been known to just find another two-headed coin and scratch up one side. Anywho, they call into Commissioner Hugo Strange, who wants them to canvass the area and interview witnesses.
You'll kill anyone, I want your forms in the morning, not a week from now. Especially if you kill me. Wait a minute.
Remember, it's not the fall, it's the sudden stop.
Strange goes to the roof and activates the signal, and is soon met with a Batman. Later in the cave, as Arnold Wesker fails to give him some coffee, Thomas figures Dent needed someone to take out X's double, since it can go toe-to-toe with Superman. Fortunately, he reprogrammed Gotham University's seismometer, focusing on locations with the number 2 in the address, since an ally that powerful would move the Earth.
Phrasing?
He takes the Batmobile and leaves Wesker to the hypno-screens, which I can only guess are supposed to keep Scarface's personality in check. We go to Harvey's hideout, where we find out his muscle are Solomon Grundy and, I guess, Amygdala, who has piercings on his upper torso now. Weird. Also, he's more well-spoken than I remember him being, but moving on. Flashpoint Bats crashes his wheels into the warehouse, where it's promptly ripped apart by Grundy. Not like it was his car. Bruce is the one that has to worry about the insurance premiums, and oh, right. To deal with these particular foes, the old man enlists the aid of Gotham Girl, who's sporting a new costume, and I really like it. It's basically a Robin suit, but the purple and teal color scheme work great together. She does, however, get very chatty, specifically how Doc Bats wants her to be more like him, less talkative while fighting. But at the same time, as a sidekick, meant to balance his darkness with light, she finds that rather conflicting, though not as dramatic as the loss of her family. It's another case of someone taking the verbal scenic route.
All of which is to say, hi, I'm Gotham Girl. Like Robin, but better. My TikToks are way more viral than a 12-year-old trained by assassins.
She takes down Grundy and eye lasers Amygdala's forearm clean off. Ouch. Harv knows the capes are meant to take him alive and won't break orders, so resorts to something the Joker told him about once, putting his gun to his own head to get the false Batman to do whatever he wanted. However, since he doesn't consider himself a false Batman, Tom batarangs Two-Face in his unscarred eye. He leaves Dent with Hugo alive, as intended, even if he seems dead, because Thomas somehow separated the sides of his brain, leaving only one side undamaged.
Must be painful to make so little sense all the time.
How is that supposed to work? Did he quickly operate on Two-Face to separate his brain, or was throwing that sharpened object in his eyeball all it took to do the trick? Thomas returns to the manor, his meal prepared by Wesker, and Alfred waiting as usual. Being a hostage should keep the Bat allies away, but just in case, Gotham Girl is patrolling city limits. Tom is worried they may still attempt to break in, but knows Alfred prefers them being far away from the Flashpoint version of his old boss. Meanwhile, Two-Face is subjected to Psycho Pirate's manipulation, that he loves Bane and his rule over the city.
You love him. You love him so very much.
Are you trying to turn him into a minion or a fiancé? Because you should really double-check with your boss on that, just to be safe. And remain ambulatory. Despite evil Bat Doc's insistence that his son has been broken, Pennyworth says Bruce will return, and apologizes for what he'll do when that happens. Intercut with these events are the younger Wayne trekking through some snowy mountains, while a narrator tells the story of a farmer and his losses that turn out to be beneficial in the end. He loses a horse, which his neighbors call a grave misfortune, but the horse returns with 2 other steeds, deemed most fortunate. When the man's only son tries to ride one of them, he breaks his leg, again a misfortune. But when the government arrives to conscript him into army service, his injury gets him a pass, again fortunate. To each claim of either misfortunate or fortunate circumstance, the farmer replied, maybe. He wasn't really paying attention to any of this, though. His favorite TV show got retooled, it's just not as well written anymore, so the farmer has got some serious adhedonia going on. Bruce enters a modest domicile, as we find this story had been told by a monk he doesn't know, and he asks for an old mentor of his, known as the Memory of the Mountain. He's off looking for his keys. Still can't remember where he left them, ironically enough. The master is dead, and Wayne asks if anything was left for him. That's when the monk slashes at his throat with a knife, somehow knowing the stranger had found out his ruse. An associate clobbers Bruce with a crowbar, and somewhere Jason Todd suddenly starts laughing, without knowing why. They were only supposed to be pretending, and one figures if the fraudulent holy man will report this to Magpie. He will, since it's safer that way, and they take everything from our hero, leaving him starkers out in the snow, mentioning that after she makes this sale, Bane will make Magpie the richest woman in the world. He says that, but I bet it turns out to be a timeshare presentation. Fortunately, Bruce is found by Catwoman, and of course they share their dissenting views on whether they met on a boat or on the street. Afterward is a shorter story with narration captions of Lex Luthor holo-communicating with Bane. The latter has controlled the city using Psycho Pirate to control the villains, who act as police and firefighters, and show mercy to citizens, except for Bullock being used as a dartboard and an old man that Professor Pig catches stealing an apple. Or he was in the process of buying it and Pig just wanted to hurt him for funsies. To end the conflict in Gotham, and deal with the Justice League, which he feels will be easier than defeating the Bat, Bane wants Lex to arrange an understanding with the U.S. government. In exchange for this peace the Luchador of Doom has made, he wants barriers and laws conceding to his authority, making it illegal for anyone, hero or otherwise, to usurp him. Also, Silly Pants Thursdays must be mandatory. Firebug and Firefly as firefighters, not fighting fires. This was never not going to show up in a Villains Run the City story. At this point, Lex had been empowered by the being Perpetua, so this ask won't be a problem. But he is curious. For all his talent, able to control Psycho Pirate, Bane could take over everyone, the whole world, challenge Luthor for dominance. Why does he only want Gotham? As his speech gets its most Shatner-esque, Bane explains that whenever there is a crisis, be it to the planet or the universe, it was always pointy ears to meet it, formulate a plan, and overcome the impossible. But he's never quelled the chaos in Gotham, as the Masked Brute has. He wishes Luthor luck in his escapades in the multiverse, though expects him to fail, and he's fine with having claimed Batman City, for all can be doubted, except Bane. Well, Bane and whether or not I turned off the oven, but I'm sure it's totally Issue 76's cover has the massive menace lifting pointy ears above his head, breaking the logo, and about to break him again. Boring. We've seen that how many times already in this run alone? Try something new, like hover your pointer fingers mere inches from his face and repeat, "I'm not touching you," over and over again. Ought to break him faster than any of the implausible scheming we've seen so far. Captain Atom is informing Gotham Girl that the president has given the order that superheroes are forbidden from entering the city. She likes this and tells him to leave, but the captain's experience tells him this is a bad order. And I know when you've got to follow and when got to lead. So Claire proceeds to beat the super snot out of him, either because he refused the order or because he left out the second U in that sentence, and literally throws him out of the city. She asked Flashpoint Bats if they should give him the pirate treatment, but Thomas says it's not the deal they made. Villains go down, heroes go out. Anti-heroes and anti-villains, play it by ear. Kite Man is in his hideout with Scarecrow, having already lost their compatriots Tweedledee and Tweedledum in an op gone bad. With so few free villains left, he admits he's scared to lose everything, including his mind. Just as he's thinking the real bad is out there, and maybe Charles is supposed to help him somehow, guess who crashes through the window with a boot to Kite Man's face? I'll give you a hint. It ain't the Culligan Man. That leaves Scarecrow to apprehend.
Easy or hard?
Hard. Please.
Hey, phrasing!
Captain Atom is recovering, saying for all his military service, his time with the Justice League, fighting and taking down so many opponents, he's never faced anyone like Gotham Girl. His face is clearly bruised and swollen, and I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be a containment suit for his body made of energy. Maybe he got beaten so badly, his head injury reverberated back in time, and that's why he misspoke on the first page of the issue. His powers dampened and under arrest for going into Gotham, he warns Red Robin to run away now that doing good has been criminalized. The problem is that the powers that be don't care how wrong it is, only that the city is peaceful. Tim later meets with Damian, who scoffs at Captain Atom's power level and figures that everyone together could defeat Gotham Girl. He doesn't care that the expenditure of her powers would lead to her death, and when reminded that if any Bat allies are seen in Gotham, Alfred will be killed. He insults Drake, which is his default, and kicks a chimney in frustration, not knowing what to do. Meanwhile, in Paris, Catwoman slinks into a safe house featuring a new suit. I think it looks fine, I like the purple lighting given to it, but I'm just not seeing a reason for the exposed armpits. Maybe it's to make it more breathable or give her better reach in a realistic way, but it just looks a little off to me. Maybe to the comic as well, since those portions are suddenly covered in the next panel. She's stolen some artwork to sell, since it takes money to hide and take care of the comatose Bruce, and knowing he wouldn't like it, promises not to steal again if he'd just wake up. Maybe this will work. Who left all this vengeance just sitting out on the curb? Nothing? Well, I'm out of ideas. In Gotham, Claire's super hearing detects no emergencies, no cries for help, no need for Batman. To her, that means they've won. Issue 77's cover has the new dynamic duo looking ready for a fight, despite them just saying there was no crime. Maybe they're at a photo shoot for more propaganda billboards.
Strike a pose.
Gotham Girl catches Robin on a rooftop in the city, and after yammering about how she tries to be nice, but apparently laments that she's not, she tells him running is as useless as his sneaking in, and fires her eye lasers. And indeed, when he evades to another rooftop, she intercepts. Just what he wanted, so he could utilize the single-use wand of Clarion and some backward speak to trap Claire in some magic chains. He leaves and soon drops in on detectives Scarecrow and Zaz, threatening a man and his dog, and he makes short work of the villains. If the government doesn't care that mentally unhinged criminals are keeping the peace by scaring, intimidating, and even assaulting innocent civilians, then Damian should have recorded Crane threatening to shoot a dog. Then the rest of the country would think twice about this deal with Bane, because what did that pooch do to anyone? Nothing, I tells ya. He then confronts Thomas, having already secretly read the Justice League files on him, and knows he's from another world, couldn't save his wife from becoming the Joker, let his universe collapse because of a button, which feels like an inaccurate oversimplification, so not sure if that's King's lapse or Damian's blind arrogance. But more importantly, he handed Gotham over to Bane.
You're not Batman. You're just pathetic.
He decks the usurper of the mantle, which is indicator enough to Doc Bats that this is his grandson, though Damian clarifies they're not really related. See, this kid gets it. Why can't the world's greatest detective?
You're a fake. You're ancient. I'm Robin, and I'm here to beat you into the damn ground.
Damian's arrogance and ego has proven to be a turnoff for many readers, and I can see why, even if I'm not as bothered by it. But this is one of those moments where those traits really help sell the scene and his confidence, really making you want to root for him. Almost, because, well, as they fight, Tom reminds him of that promise he made to kill Alfred if any Bat family had trespassed into the city, something actually suggested by Pennyworth to keep the others from harm. Now, with Damian defying that warning, he has to follow through with it. But the young Cape suggests all he really has to do is lie down and beg for mercy. Thomas then proceeds to stomp the boy into unconsciousness for being as stubborn and naive as Bruce.
Not only am I going to kill Alfred, but no animal murder bedtime story for you tonight, young man.
Damian wakes up to Thomas expositing how this isn't his choice, that he'd prefer to give the kid another chance after his mistake and send him off with a good beating to teach him a lesson. But it's not his city, not Batman's. It's the city of Bane, and as Alfred pleads not to do it in front of the boy, Bane breaks his neck. No, I'm not going to show it, because it frankly disgusts and depresses me, and also just in case YouTube suddenly decides to have a problem with it. Thomas puts his hand on Damian's shoulder, telling the crying lad that now there's a new hostage to keep the family at bay, and perhaps they won't be as childish as Robin was. The scene is incredibly controversial for numerous reasons. Apparently King intended this to be a fear gas hallucination, though I know someone suggested online it was supposed to be Clayface disguised as Alfred, but I have no confirmation if that's true. In either case, it was insisted upon by then EIC Dan DiDio that they formally kill Alfred off, because the guy who loves these characters so much is always trying to murder them. I can kind of understand that. These characters have been around for so long in a medium that isn't selling quite like it used to, and some feel they need to retire these decades-old characters to make way for some new blood, or new ink, as it were. I am not one of those people, but I sort of see where they're coming from. Personally, not only am I tired of character deaths meant to shock the readers or try to be profound, when readers just want those characters back, but Alfred was such a core member of the family that his demise just hurts. Not in some meaningful way, it's just unpleasant. It doesn't make me want to buy more Bat titles to see how they deal with his passing, nor reflect on the times he contributed to great moments throughout the years. You kill off the butler, but you leave this monstrosity? I hope it makes sense to God, because it sure doesn't make any sense to me. I told you, that was the Home Depot's fault for not putting up a sign specifying you cannot test their nails with a warhammer. Meanwhile, Bruce has finally woken up, and soon admits his loss. Much later, at a cafe, he tells Selina his intentions to return to Gotham, even if he's still hurt. Sure, the forces against him are stronger, but if he dies, it'll be in the same city as his parents. It'd be a good death. No, it'll be a stupid and pointless death with the villain still in control. But hey, when have dumb decisions like that ever stopped DC? Selina refuses to let him get killed, but Wayne insists he can see every plan and scenario.
I'm sorry, I am. But this is the way.
This is the way.
I am the Batman DeLorean.
Kyle stares him in the eye, insisting that he needs to learn he doesn't see everything, including her.
Of course I can. You're right in front of me.
Dang it, this brooch didn't really make me turn invisible. That shopkeeper lied to me. I bet I can probably feed my mogwai after midnight, too.
They complete their conversation later, I guess, after they've suited up, as she says that if he wants revenge and to take back their city, she will show him the way, because she's the Catwoman DeLorean.
This is the way.
This issue actually came out a couple months before the Mandalorian series, so maybe this was just all a coincidence.
This is the way.
I don't think that was from Star Wars. Issue 78's cover has the ex-betrothed standing among some rubble and smoke, with the bat signal shining in the sky.
Reunited, rekindled, ready for revenge.
Revenge is a dish best served with pinto beans and muffins.
After an opening flashback that recreates when Selina was first captured on the oft-mentioned boat, we see the two in the present day at a tropical resort, under the pseudonym Malone. Though with the way Bruce is disguised, they could have used Selleck or straight-up Magnum P.I. Disregarding the specificities of what their relationship is now, Bruce says all that matters is that with her help, he's training to get better. Turns out, after those two punks attacked him on the mountain and left him for dead, Selina had a chat with them and found out that the one thing they need to defeat Bane is arriving on this very beach. Amazon now sells plot MacGuffins. Hope the delivery drone doesn't drop it in the ocean this time. They train during the day, in their suits, which feels like a very stupid move to me. Sure, he needs to get reacclimated to doing stuff in his costume, but it's overly risky that they'll be spotted. Not to mention doing this while they're using his Matches Malone persona, which, if word got out Pointy Ears was chilling in paradise, is kind of a big tip-off to the enemies that have outmaneuvered him so far, and have access to, like, the Bat computer and everything. Anyway, with masks or without, they discuss relationship stuff, like Selina keeping the ring, which Bruce says isn't his, but yeah, you bought it, doofus. And how, as they sleep in separate rooms, that she can tell he's not as fine as he claims.
Do you ever get tired of lying?
All the damn time. I still haven't told Jason that the Tooth Fairy isn't real. I think that inspired him to punch criminals' teeth out just to put them under his pillow for a bigger payday.
Another day, they dive off a waterfall, having a laugh when they come back up, and she pulls back his mask for making out, until she says it doesn't matter and swims to shore. He masks back up, and there's some water trickling from his eye. Water or teardrop. It feels a little contrived, but whatever. One night, they're cozy by the fire when Selina says she used to imagine them in the future. Still the same, just older, still arguing about where they first met, and they'd have a sullen daughter that was always trying to help everyone.
Also, you'd take in a rebellious teenager to take your place, and his suit would be all black with a big red bat on the chest. I have a strangely specific imagination.
She figured she killed that future when she left him, even though she thought it was the heroic thing to do. But those thoughts of their later years crept back, leading her to crying, waiting for bats to find her again. Then realized if she was really a hero, she'd want to celebrate how she saved the world by letting Batman be Batman. And Bruce admits he waited and wept as well.
Also, I punched a bunch of people. Worse than usual, actually. I mean, this one time with Mr. Freeze, Wait, did I tell you about my jury duty?
Later, as she tries to get him to throw a batarang at her, suggesting that he pretend that she decided he had to be alone forever to continue his crusade, so he'll throw it as hard as he can, with all his anger. And now I'm getting G Gundam flashbacks.
Take this, my love, my anger, and all of my sorrow!
Even though she's confident she'll catch the weapon no matter what, he refuses. She didn't do this to him. It was his own fear that he couldn't put anyone above his vow. She just picked up on it, believing it because he believed it. He never blamed her, but perhaps he needed to be brought low, to die, in order to consider that maybe they don't live because of hurt, but to fight the hurt.
Also, living to hurt people who deserve to be hurt.
He admits that he's not fine, and that without her, his world is dust. And they make out on a splash page. Issue 79's cover has bats fighting some goons in the background, while Catwoman crashes Magpie into some boxes that have Bane's mask design on them. His real plan this whole time was to start his own pyramid scheme, the Santa Priskin Diet. We open to a flashback of the two lovers meeting on the street, a la Batman Year One. Then to the present day, where they insist they both need to be here when Magpie arrives with her shipment of stolen venom. A caption tells us these events take place before the events of issue 77, because chronology hasn't gotten confusing enough in this run. And Magnum P.I. is going to be so ticked off when he sees what Bane did to Higgins. Later, they're exercising together, him doing one-armed push-ups while she does yoga on his lower spine. Yeah, he only recently got it busted a couple of times and operated on, why not? That's our Batman! She still insists they first met on the street, sans costumes, but met again later on the boat when he'd established himself as the Dark Knight and even had Robin along. She distinctly recalls how when mobsters started a ruckus and it looked like the vessel was about to sink, she ran for her life like everyone else, but not like the old woman she was disguised as. This is the universe where Bats knows aliens, demigods, a literal angel from heaven, immortals, and earthborn people with superpowers. But a grandma-looking lady who sprints real fast? That's worthy of suspicion. They hear news reports about Gotham, including Captain Adams' arrest for illegal entry, and how the past months of apparent urban peace has been rumored to be at the expense of supervillain rule, enslaved citizens, and a violently cruel Batman. A nearby tourist gives an unsolicited opinion that Batman grew a pair and is finally dealing with the cesspit of a city. When Selina suggests he doesn't know what he's talking about, not only does the guy call her little girl and anecdotally cite his Special Forces cousin's experience, he goes so far as to rub her leg while her man is right there, and he has a wedding ring on. If King had written a caption establishing this guy as a TV pundit named Slimeball T. Scumbucket who liked to burn animal shelters and rant lies about Tom Hanks starting nuclear wars, that may have been a more subtle approach to showing what an absolute tool this guy is, to further justify Selina punching him. But hey, I can still enjoy a good righteous face punch, even if it's a tad contrived. Guy also claimed his cousin said Batman used to be nothing. Yeah, nothing. Except the guy that constantly fought off monsters, psychotic murderers, and saving an entire city every night without having to take a life. I wonder if there's some behind-the-scenes detail that was left out, where it turns out this guy didn't have a cousin in Gotham, and he just likes to sound all edgy and informed. The two retire to their room, where Selina says a lot of people feel the same way as Mr. Scumbucket, that even if innocents die, they don't care as Gotham rots, so long as it doesn't disturb their own lives. She expects this to be an opportunity for Bruce to say that it's his problem, and getting all grouchy when she insists their partners get all dramatic, but he just says how beautiful she is, and they proceed to, I'm going to say, organize a photo album. The next night, a convenience store clerk is being held up at gunpoint by someone that doesn't believe that Batwoman and Catwoman are right behind him.
I ain't dumb, and there ain't no superheroes here.
Are you kidding or just blind? They've been rock climbing, swimming, and throwing weapons at each other all week. They even photobombed a wedding while doing backflips.
Also, there ain't no superheroes? I wonder if he doomed himself with that double negative. If he'd used proper grammar, would they have just disappeared? Anywho, their crime fighting isn't limited to petty crooks, as they also fight some ninjas and costumed folk, possibly powered. So I guess this resort, which they haven't specified yet, is in Hawaii, has supercrime but no heroes to fight it. Bat's got a signal from Alfred saying he's safe, so is sending Damien in, which means their time away is at its end. Much as they'd like to stay, Gotham needs someone to fight for them, and they'll do it at each other's sides, as they share I love yous. The shipment they've been waiting for has arrived, and fortunately the rental shop had jet skis that matched their costumes, so they're ready to board the vessel. This episode of the Love Boat took a really weird turn. They hop aboard, take out some goons, defeat Magpie, not all as dramatic as the cover made it seem, and tell the scantily clad villainess to go back to Gotham. She asks if they have a message to give to Bane, and after ripping a necklace from her, hence these two totally necessary panels of her cleavage, Catwoman poses with Bats and says they are the message. And to emphasize how serious they are, the moon broke from its orbit and is about to collide with the Earth just to make Batman more intimidating.
You throw another moon at me, and I'm gonna lose it.
The next day, Selina is admiring the Koner diamond from Magpie's necklace, something Pointy Ears had caught her stealing 4 times. But of course she can't keep it, even after saving his life and joining him for his next upcoming battle. He finally thanks her for all she's done, and she replies that all love is who takes care of you. In front of a nuclear explosion, apparently. Behold, the birth of Bat-Hulk. Bruce clarifies why he's always insisted they first met on the boat. Their encounter on the street was not only before he put on the ears, but also before he was fully formed.
I was set on broil when it should have been 375 degrees.
Even when he finally put on the suit, he wasn't quite Batman yet, but he had embraced the identity by the time they saw each other on the boat, their truths meeting for the first time. Now, he thinks he can be more than the Bat, or the Vow, and they can meet again here and now. So the issue ends on the two agreeing that they met on the beach. Well, you're meeting Catwoman. She's meeting Quigley Down Under on vacation. Issue 80's cover sees them on a rooftop, a caption mentioning the fight to take back Gotham, and Selina standing over a very injured Bats. Wow, it's already not going well, and we haven't even gotten to the first page yet. Speaking of, Officers Pig and Two-Face catch a guy out after curfew in heavy rain, and now they have to break his bones. So they get jabbed in the throat. Harv pulls his gun and fires a couple rounds, narrowly missing both the stranger and his partner, who voices his opinion on their target.
Stupid! Stupid!
Let him finish.
Wait, I want to see where he's going with that stupid humans thing.
Very interesting.
After Pig is knocked out, Dent manages to fire more bullets, then sees who it is they attacked. After he gets clocked, the Batman rips open his shirt and casually plucks 2 crumpled bullets from his chest.
Dang it, I was hoping to wear this a little longer before getting bullet holes in it. Must be a Monday.
Commissioner Strange tells Flashpoint Bats of the 2 officers that haven't checked in, but attributes it to them being late or the difficulty of controlling Harvey's moods. Thomas can tell his son has returned, and suggests they inform Bane, even though the psychologist seems certain he was broken and no one would ever come back from such an ordeal. But even evil versions of a commish bat meeting requires the latter to disappear in the middle of the other's sentence.
How did Gordon put up with this for so many years? I've been usurping his job for a few months, and I can't stand it. I'd go insane if I wasn't already there.
Mad Hatter sees a stray cat, and thinking there might be an anti-stray ordinance, decides to shoot it with a really long-barreled pistol, which he must have borrowed from Joker Nicholson. The real trick is how he fit that in a hat that's too short for it.
Take that, physics.
Catwoman stops him because it was a cat being threatened after all, and either that's an odd fur discoloration or Raven from Teen Titans has a missing cat. Just as Kite Man is getting word of Arkham officers going missing, that he finds out for himself who's responsible, and the real Bat is back in town.
Hell yeah.
Hey, injure the guy, hang him from a rooftop, but don't take his catchphrase. It's all he's got going for him after all. Gotham Girl is on a roof, not doing so well, and unable to spot their intruders. Thomas, showing previously unseen concern for her, suggests she needs to go home and requires another dose of something. She asks if she's going to die like her brother, and Thomas vows that won't happen, but insinuates someone will for what he did to her.
The troll who keeps downvoting your Instagram posts is going to feel my wrath.
Bats encounters Hush on the first 2-page spread we've had in several issues, surprisingly. It's kind of an Old West scene where they count to 3 and draw their weapons, but Bandage Face loses, getting hit in the noggin while his 2 bullets zip past on either side of his foe's pointy ears. A lot like Dent's shot earlier, strangely enough. He quotes Aristotle about the wise man making order instead of being ordered, and Bats hits back with Plato and a knee to the skull.
The inexperienced in wisdom and virtue, ever occupied with feasting and such, are carried downward like cattle.
This scene really shows where a minor in philosophy can take you. Thomas has put Claire to bed, informed by a ventriloquist what Bane wants him to do, and kisses the young woman on the head before taking off. Bruce, taking Hush's badge, tells Selina what the order is, anticipating new mansion defenses he can't subvert, as his alter dad predictably gets his guns, heads down the cave, and must decide if he can follow through on his orders and shoot Damien, who's tied up, upside down, and in some kind of purple light. The strawberry-flavored light burnt out, all they have left is grape. These issues manage to clear the air on a few things, mostly Bruce and Selina's relationship. I think the explanations work, that she picked up on his fear that he couldn't prioritize her over his promise to war on crime, and how their dispute over their first meeting was predicated on how he viewed himself in his role, and probably the source of why he's been calling her Cat throughout this run, since that was her original moniker in her first appearance. It's still unclear what happened to Gordon or the police force, or why there's this oddly familial relationship that Thomas has with Claire. Seems kinda hypocritical, doesn't it? that he doesn't want his son to be Batman at all, so puts him through the physical, emotional, and mental ringer. But this girl who literally dies a bit more with each use of her powers, have her beat down some meadows with her godlike abilities, so long as she gets a nap every now and then. But there's still 5 more issues before this is all done, so there's room for clarification next week. Or at the very least, more face punching. I'm the Angry Spork, and man, have I got issues.